terms of how a card is designed, what is your favorite?
The boring designer answer would be a card like Shock or
Don't do
Windrake.
that. You created Modern though, right?
Yeah, I did create a new format. And you're up first, bro.
I'm up first, right? Oh no!
I think about Magic. So you ever talk to a geologist?
Yes. Oh, hello. Are you ready to take this wheel for a spin? What about ask a few questions of Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast? Well, today we're going to do both. I have collected booster packs from throughout Magic the Gathering's history, and there's none other I'd like to talk about Magic the Gathering's history with than Gavin. Gavin, thank you for joining me here today.
Oh, thanks for having me. And this is so cool seeing like a good smorgasbord of packs throughout history, right? A lot of these are things that I had touched in some way, and a few from just before then.
Which of these sets did you work on at Wizards?
Well, let's see. New Phyrexia was the last set to come out before I started at Wizards.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool. I worked on Modern Masters, Phyrexia, and all in different amounts, right?
Of course. It takes a village.
Right, and sometimes it was less than more, but the sets that I worked on the most on here, Dungeons & Dragons, Baldur's Gate, worked on that one a bunch. And then, of course, Final Fantasy.
So those are the two big ones.
Those are the two big ones. I did touch many of these other sets, everything but Avacyn Restored, Rise of the Eldrazi, New Phyrexia. I worked on all of them to some degree, but Final Fantasy is my big one.
That's your big one.
Baldur's Gate I worked on a bunch too.
Awesome. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna spin the wheel. Each of us are going to get a pack of whatever set this lands on, and we're going to play a game of Booster Blitz with those packs. But I also am gonna ask you a few interview questions as we go along through that game before we get to the wheel and the questions. How do you play Booster Blitz?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up a pack. We're gonna get the same pack, and we're going to create 5 3-card piles with that pack. Then we're gonna play a little game. I'm gonna pick one of Prof's piles, he's gonna pick one of my piles, and then we're gonna play them against each other. Infinite mana, 5 life, and you just play. That's it. So it's kind of, so if you have a fireball in your hand, they die. But that fireball in one of the piles, it's not in the other piles, right? So you can't do that every time. You wanna kind of divvy up your cards to be as strong as possible.
It's a fun way to get to experience these sets too, and a lot of cards that you might not necessarily pick in your draft or put in your constructed deck, but you've got to play with them in Booster Blitz. Gavin, why don't you give the wheel a spin?
All right, here we go. Let's do it.
Woo!
Personally, I'm going for Final Fantasy. Oh, so close.
I'll
take it. One of my favorites.
All right.
New Phyrexia, the last set before I came to Wizards.
This was the last set that you enjoyed as a player.
Right.
Before crossing over. All right.
Yeah. I remember talking with Mark Rosewater at the New Phyrexia pre-release, and I was really excited to work at Wizards, and I didn't have any kind of job offer, interview, or anything like that at that point. I asked him for some tips, and then within 6 months, I was hired at Wizards, so I guess it worked out.
I guess so. All right. There we go. Do you have a preference between a Suture Priest and a Shieldred Whispering One pack? I'm gonna let you as guest.
I feel like this is very much like a Princess Bride wine in front of me situation. Do you want the Sholadred, which of course is an iconic Phyrexian, or do you want the white common Suture Priest? You can't fool me, Professor. You bested my giant, so clearly you must be exceptionally strong. I will take the Suture Priest because it is a common, and I'm a man of pauper.
All right,
commons.
Here we go. Okay. Let's open these up, and we're gonna build 5 decks. And before we play our first round, I do have a question for you, but let's build our 5 decks first.
And I'll say this is a fun game you can play with any packs you have lying around. So you and your buddies, find some packs, put them in piles. You will, of course, take out this rules tip card in case you want to know what proliferates are. Or on the back, what is a Magic the Gathering Grand Prix, Professor? Can you enlighten me as to this?
Oh, what a relic of the past. Well, we've got Spotlight Series. Spotlight Series is very similar to a Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very similar.
Okay, so we'll make these piles here. And yeah, when you're making the piles in this, you gotta really do the best you can sometimes,
So the problem with New Phyrexia and Booster Blitz is that the rule for Infect, much like in Commander, is still exactly the same, and a lot of my cards have Infect.
All right, well, we might be playing some long Booster Blitz games,
Yeah.
You never know what we're gonna get here.
Oh, this is so weird. Okay.
Hey, it was your wheel. Okay, I got some good stuff going on. I got some good stuff going on here. I like my piles.
Well, that's good for you.
It is good for me, I agree.
So I also got a land card.
Yeah, me too. I usually put that in my pile that has like the strongest other stuff going on, just hoping it'll work out.
I put it in the pile with the worst stuff because I figure that pile's a wash anyway.
That's another one. I'm just like, this is the Drek pile.
Yes. So before we start, you mentioned that New Phyrexia was the last set that you played in as a player before going over to the Wizards of the Coast. And you played Magic for how long before you started at Wizards?
For about 10 years.
10 years. You were a pro player. You played on the pro circuit. A lot of great accomplishments there. What would you say is one of the more significant significant changes in your perspective about Magic the Gathering from crossing over from player to maker of many parts of the game, from card design to sets and product and all of that stuff? Like, because it changes, doesn't it? Your perception, awareness. What happened, do you think?
I feel like when you're a player, when you're just a player going to a game store, just playing the game, playing on Magic Online, whatever, you have a very small view of it. You're like, this is my experience. This is what it looks like to me. This is what I experienced with Magic. And at the time, for example, I was a competitive player. I didn't care at all about casual formats. I didn't care at all. I didn't really care that much about anything beyond what I was focused on, right? I was like, oh, great, the Pro Tour is great, awesome. Beyond that, I don't have a strong opinion. Being at Wizards, you really zoom out a lot and you see the whole picture. You're looking at every format. At the time, I played whatever was needed for tournaments, but now I look at every competitive format to some degree. I look at Commander, of course. I think a lot about local game stores. I think a lot about big events. I think a lot about the communities we create. I think a lot about our conventions. So much stuff that is just at a way higher view, how they all work together, which is pretty interesting.
It's funny because I think of you, I do think of you as associated with Commander and a lot of casual play like that, but I also think of you as the guy who's always interested in outside of the box or outside of the main scope formats, Pauper and other things like that. And so it sounds like that wasn't, when you were before working at Wizards, you weren't really pursuing that sort of thing. You created Modern though, right?
Yeah, I did create a new format. I also played Pauper back on Magic Online back in the day. Before it was even a format, I played it. You had to organize in chat rooms, and then on Magic Online, then we would self-pair each other. It was crazy. I enjoyed that stuff, but there's a lot of things I didn't touch. I would never touch Commander. You kidding me? That was not a competitive thing. I wasn't interested in it at all. I
heard tale of someone who was at the game store when you played your first game of Commander, and they told me that you came in, you're like, oh, what are you guys playing, Commander? You're like, I've been wanting to try this, check this out, can I try? And you played that game, and afterwards you're like, I'm in. There's something here. There's this magic here.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy story. I had been at Wizards for a few years, and I wanted to lead a set. Of course, I wanted to lead a set. Every designer wants to lead a set and make it their own, right? And my manager sits me down. He's like, I think we have an opportunity for you, but it's a Commander set. Would you be interested? And of course, I'm coming off the Pro Tour. I'm playing competitive stuff. I'm I don't know. I don't really want to do this Commander thing. But he's like, just take the weekend and think about it. Just take the weekend, think about it, get back to us. And I was going to be in New York that weekend, actually. It's a very Gavin thing to do, right? Fly off to another place. And so I went to this little game store called the Uncommon. It's a great LGS in New York City. I highly recommend them.
Yeah.
I watched on it, and when the new Commander decks had come out, just got a gaming cafe kind of vibe. And in the back, there were 4 people with the 5 new decks, and they're about to shuffle up and play a game. They're like, hey, do you want to come join us? They had no idea who I was, right? They're like, hey, guy who likes Magic, he's here.
Sure.
Sit down and play. So I sat down and played with them. I grabbed the Freya Lee's deck. I hadn't played a couple Commander games before. I had a deck at home, and I kind of knew it a little bit. It wasn't anything I thought I would be super attached to. And I had such a good time playing that game, and me being able to meet people at a store just like that, just hey, we're all gonna invite you in, sit down, hang out. Then I went back to work on Monday. I told my boss, I'm in for the Commander set, Commander 2017, and that's, now that's led to where I'm doing today. That moment embodies so much. It's in a local game store with people that just want to invite you to sit down and play at the table. There's nothing sharky, there's no mouse, just hey, this is our game, come on in and play. It was really meaningful to me. And because of that, that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Here we are. Wow, wild. All right, shall we roll for this here? Or do you want to do odd even?
I'll be odd.
You'll be odd.
Okay. Fun fact, in game design, that's how we always do it. You roll the dice, and if you win, there you go. All
right.
Perfect. So in game design, you roll the dice, and if it's odd, you go first. If it's even, the other person goes first.
All right, so now that means I'm going first. Do I also pick?
Yes, you pick my pack.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm going to start right here.
Okay,
and
we'll start over here on the edge.
All right, there we go.
All right, so you get to go first.
Oh, this is that interesting one.
The interesting good or interesting bad?
Interesting good, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and play Invader Parasite. Now this has imprint. It says when it enters battlefield, exile target land. If there's no lands, I can still play it, right?
Yeah, of course. It just doesn't do anything.
Okay, just checking.
You got a 3/2.
All right, I got a 3/2. All this other text doesn't matter as much. And then I'm also going to play a Green Hilt Trainee. It's a 2/3, but I can tap it to give target creature +4/+4 until end of turn. But I can only activate this ability if Green Hilt Trainee's power is 4 or greater. So it's just a 2/3. So I got a 3/2 and a 2/3, and I need to do you 5 damage.
Okay, well, maybe you got a Pump Spell in your hand, who knows? All right, so I have 3 cards in my hand that all cost Phyrexian mana, but I will be paying no Phyrexian mana for them today because I don't need to. I have infinite mana. I'll start with a very strong card, Gataxian Probe. Show me the last card in your hand. What do you have?
The last card in my hand is a Parasitic Implant. It would let me enchant a creature, and at the beginning of my upkeep, you'd have to sacrifice it, and I'd get a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token.
Interesting.
Yeah, nice little bit of removal. I don't think it's going to work out for me like I had hoped.
All right, well, I don't draw a card, and of course, you don't deck for not having a library.
Right.
So we just have these 3 cards to go with. I'm gonna play Pith Driller. When it enters the battlefield, I put a -1/-1 counter on target creature.
Sure.
And I will put a -1/-1 counter on your Invader Parasite.
All right. We'll indicate that here. That's a -1 counter, though.
That's right. I'm going to pass the turn.
You're going to pass the turn. All right. I think with that 2/4 that I'm going to use my enchantment. So it now has a Parasitic Implant. And I am going to hold back, pass to you.
All right, so now I have this 2/4 with a Parasitic Implant.
You do.
And I think this is gonna be Prof wins this round.
Oh!
So Prof ends up 1-0.
All right.
Because this will die, and then you'll be able to attack me.
But I wouldn't be able to kill you in one swing. But yeah, all right, cool.
1 down, Prof up 1-0.
I got a question for you, Gavin. You were the creator of Modern, essentially, right? I mean, I know that we're many iterative steps in other people, but it's fair for me to say you created the Modern format.
It is a little more complicated than that.
Of course.
But I'll take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know we had a conversation once where when Pioneer was coming out, you said to me that you feel that at a certain point, Modern is just going to get too big and we needed a new format like Pioneer to grow from a new starting point. Do you still agree with that statement today? It feels to me, and I'm curious if you disagree, that Modern is still extremely popular. And when we had that conversation, that was half a decade ago.
Yeah.
Right? Pioneer came out half a decade ago about so. And so is Modern just this juggernaut that can and will continue on and on and on? 5 years from now, are we still playing? I think you actually said that to me. You actually said to me, Prof, do you really think 5 years from now, Modern can support all of these sets? And I was like, I do. And here we are.
I think I don't know exactly what
I don't know what you might not have said it. It was like, this is not on camera. We were just walking and talking. You're like, you really think 5 years from now,
I mean, I think Modern can support 5 more years and 10 more years and 15 more years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all about Modern being able to support itself. Like, people love playing these cards. There's a lot of nostalgia there. In many ways, I feel like Modern is what Legacy was when I started playing Magic, right? It's like everything from this point forward, tons and tons of cards. The more challenging thing is it becomes harder for newer cards to impact. Like, at some point, it becomes so powerful and so strong that it becomes unrecognizable.
Yeah.
And so creating a format that is like, hey, it's a little lower power. Your cards that come out that you buy in packs can go into some of these decks. That's a good thing for Pioneer to be able to try and hit. I think Pioneer is hamstrung for a number of reasons. It came out at a bad time, right?
Yeah.
It never really got a tournament support as much because the pandemic, etc. I do think it is still pretty fun in many ways. It just hasn't had the time or support to grow. I think we could find ways for it to grow in the future. Modern has continued a certain popularity. Obviously, Modern Horizons has pushed a lot of people to be like, oh, I have these cards and I want to play them somewhere. I'll go to Modern Horizons to play, or Modern to play them. The other thing I found is Modern is just like the de facto casual format for one-on-one constructed. Right? A lot of people say they play Modern, but they're not playing high-end Modern decks of any kind. There's like, 60 card Magic.
Yeah.
It's Modern. That's the card pool I play with. It's my goofy casual deck. So I think that's also become like a de facto language for a lot of one-on-one casual folks.
Speaking on behalf of one-on-one casual folks, we also just love old cards and them having a home. And I know that Modern Horizons has been a little controversial. People have said, and I'm one of the people who have said it, that it pushes out those old cards, and that's one of my issues with it. But it is still a home where I can dig through old cards and find a place to play them, or at least attempt to play them.
I've been thinking a lot recently, Commander is it's an amazing format, right? Commander is wonderful, it's a great multiplayer format, but there's a lot of people out there who like casual Magic, but don't want to play 4-player multiplayer.
Yeah.
Right? I'm thinking a lot recently about if there's like a cool singleton format that's like, say, Modern Singleton, right? And you can play tons of old cards, a lot of your favorites hanging out there, not that dissimilar from like what Canadian Highlander has done. It's something I was kicking around recently.
You want to know my pitch?
I'm ready for it.
That's what I'm thinking about. It's Modern, but it ends with, I think, Khans of Tarkir block. What was the first set starting? Modern starts with 10th edition?
No, Modern is 8th edition.
8th edition, oh my goodness. Modern, 8th edition to Dragons of Tarkir. Kind of like not pre-modern, but postmodern. And it's like we can
got a format name and everything.
We can suspend that little era of modern in a capsule, an unbanned birthing pod. Of course. And yeah, that
was a really beautiful time, right? I feel like that was when modern was in its infancy. People were just like, there's so many cool decks at that moment. People really enjoyed it. Like so much nostalgia from that era.
Modern in that era is one of the biggest things that made me fall in love and become passionate with Magic the Gathering again. So it's definitely something I really, it means a lot to me, that certain era. That's why I wish there was a way. I want to go back, but maybe I just wish I were younger.
Well, maybe we all wish that. I'm feeling it too.
Yeah, aren't we all?
I'll say that my favorite Pro Tour I think I ever went to, I didn't play, but I was just there, was Pro Tour Philadelphia, which was, of course, the first ever modern event of any kind, really.
That's gotta be wild. Like, you created this format and there's a Pro Tour around it?
It was wild. Like, and they also switched the Pro Tour format, I think it was 6 weeks maybe before the tournament, because it was originally supposed to be extended, and extended was doing very poorly. Nobody wanted to play it. Yeah. And they're like, all right, last minute, we're gonna do this new format, modern. It was the Wild West, right? Yeah. No one knew what was good. There had been no tournaments before it ever. And to see people show up with their decks was so cool.
Oh, wild.
And there were all kinds of things like Blazing Shoal combo and just things that you could never imagine. And you sat down, and I watched people sit down every match, and they'd be like, I don't even know what I'm playing against. I don't know what this deck is. And that's the thing you can capture so rarely in Magic, and something I really enjoy.
Awesome. All right. Well, you lost, so you get to pick now for the next one.
Let's go here.
All right. I am going to go there.
All right. Very good.
Oh, this is a bad one for me.
Well, this is a bad one for me, too. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to play a 3/4 Angel and a 1/2 Vigilance Flyer. So I got, or 3/3 Angel, excuse me. So I got a 3/3 and a 1/2, both flying. Your turn.
Actually, this is, reading the card explains the card, but one of my faults is reading the rest of the card explains the rest of the card, and I just kept reading on this card, and now I'm feeling pretty good about this. Well, let's start here with the Suture Priest.
Oh, that was on for the run of my pack.
Yeah. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain 1 life. I will be gaining 1 life. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, you may have that player lose 1 life. If only I had been on the play here. And then we're going to drop this Toxic Nim.
Ooh.
It's a 4/1 infect, and I can spend a black to regenerate it. And I'm gonna have myself gain a life, going up to 6 life.
That's huge.
If you think that's huge,
whoa!
We're dropping a viral Drake. As a YouTuber, I want to go viral. This is a flying infect, 1/4, but here's what I like. I can proliferate. That was where I kept reading. Yeah. I have infinite mana. If I get 1 infect on you, I win.
All right.
I get 1 infect. But both of your things fly. That's a bit of a problem. All right, and I pass the turn.
Wow, that is really quite the issue you got going on there.
I think it's quite the issue you've got going on there.
Well, that's also true. Yeah, I don't have like great attacks here. You can regenerate this thing infinitely.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a big problem. Yeah, wow. I'm just gonna have to say go.
Really interesting. So I think what I'm doing here, I am gonna go ahead and attack for 4.
Okay, you're attacking for 4. I will take 4 and go to 1.
But that's infect.
Yeah, I'll take 4 poison.
But that's poison.
Yeah.
But then I just proliferate.
Yeah.
You're just gonna.
I have nothing. I'm dead.
Wow. All right.
I'm dead. So far,
yeah.
Drop up 2-0.
You know that if I win, I get to keep all the cards from both packs. That's the way this works.
Oh wow. Well, now that I know that, I better try.
That's the prize. The prize is we pool all of our cards.
Well,
I should say that at the beginning, but now that I'm winning, I wanted to say it.
Got my bad piles out of the way. Now it's time for the good piles.
Okay. I got a question for you, which is I want to know your favorite card design, not your favorite card in terms of like, I just love this card. It has an emotional significance to me for whatever reason, which many of us have those. But as a designer, just in terms of how a card is designed, what is your favorite?
Favorite that I've made or favorite overall?
One of each.
The boring designer answer would be a card like Shock.
Oh, come on, don't do that.
I'm not going to. I'm just saying.
That's really boring. Give me the interesting designer.
But I'll tell you the card that expanded my mind the most.
Yeah.
I think it's Doran the Siege Tower. Lorwyn card, right? And I remember seeing that card previewed. And Lorwyn, it's a long time ago now, unfortunately. We're ancient. But at the time, that was what came out 2007. So it was like a good 14 years into Magic's life cycle. And it really opened my eyes of like, wow, there's so much innovation left in this game, right? The line of your creatures deal damage equal to their toughness rather than their power. That's the thing that we're 14 years into this game, had never been done. First time that had ever been done on a card like that. And just goes to show how much stuff there is left in Magic. It's elegant, it's just a few words, lots of room for flavor text, and it inspired so many cool decks, right?
Yeah.
It ended up getting played at the Pro Tour. There was a Treefolk deck with Doran the Siege Tower that did quite well in Extended. So it was a popular card in Standard. It was even one of the like original popular commanders back in that era. So I think it was just an all-around cool card that just really opened my mind to the amount of different things you could do. So that's before my time, of course. I was, like 15, 16. Card that I made, which really opened up my mind the most, that's a good question, or that I really appreciate the design of. I really like Monastery Mentor. That's a card that I made that is...
You made Monastery Mentor? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
The crazy thing about Monastery Mentor is normally like the design process is very long.
Yeah.
Our cards change a lot. And so I was only on the vision design team for Fate Reforged, which is like the very early part.
Yeah.
And almost nothing, usually in fact, literally nothing survives the whole set. And I put Monastery Mentor in the set. I pitched it to Ken Nagel and he put it in. And it started as 1 white for a 2/2. Same exact text it is now, and went through this long evolution of it. It was an enchantment and an artifact, and it cost 4 mana and 2 mana and bouncing around. And when the set finally ended, cards stayed all the way through, and the only change that was made from the original design I had pitched a year and a half earlier was a single white mana pip.
Wow.
So it was like this really almost perfect, elegant design that is now back in standard. It's been reprinted a bunch of times. People love it.
It's a good thing they got rid of that pip because that made it a heck of a lot better.
That was the key thing, right? That's a card I'm very proud of because it runs against elegance. It's gorgeous, and I think it's just a really cool card that does a lot with very little.
When you pitch cards in that way, do you pitch them also in terms of their rarity? Like, did you say this is an uncommon, or do you just say this is a design, and then as they look at the set, someone else goes, this would be an uncommon or a common? I imagine that does shift around, but I'm curious if the original pitch also includes rarity.
Yeah, it was really pitched as a rare. Usually you pitch a card for a specific rarity, and it can shift up or down. Sometimes there are cool uncommons that get upgraded to rares, or sometimes rares that aren't quite hitting that get brought down to uncommon. Or a thing that happens a lot in some more recent sets, especially with Universes Beyond, is you'll have a character that flip-flops between an uncommon and rare. Like, oh, we know we want this person in the set, not sure what rarity they're gonna be. Yeah, it started life as a rare and stayed as rare all the way through.
And what's your favorite card from a set that hasn't come out yet, but is coming? Oh, we can't.
Island, really good. I'm telling you, Prof, there's some good merfolk in Lorwyn.
You had me at Lorwyn. I know there's merfolk in Lorwyn, but I just can't wait for Lorwyn. I can't tell you how excited I am to go back to Lorwyn. Please, I want to go back to Lorwyn.
I've got great news for you. I've got great news for you.
I want to stay in Lorwyn. I want 3 sets. Why can't we do a year in Lorwyn, or at least 2 sets in Lorwyn? But I'll take the 1. I'm very happy for the 1. All right, you're up again because you lost.
Yeah, I mean, I got a winner. We're gonna have to run out of questions, right? So let's go here.
All right, let's do there as well.
One?
We're gonna middle for middle there. I almost showed you my cards.
Right.
Oh, this one. Oh, this is an interesting one. Okay.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play Spellskite. So I can redirect anything to him.
Anything legal to him.
I'm gonna play Impaler Shrike. It's a 3/1 flyer. If it hits you, I can sack it to draw 3 cards, which I will not be doing.
Okay, interesting. But it's flying.
It does fly.
All right, that's a bit of a problem for me. I think I can't win. This was one of my stronger ones. I got a Blighted Agent that's unblockable. It's got Infect. And then here, I have this lovely 5/5 Infect Chained Throat Seeker, but that whole keep reading the card, it can't attack unless defending player is poisoned. I thought there's no way you can stop me from getting a poison counter on you, but unfortunately, I can't stop that flyer, so we go to you. I assume that attacks me for 3.
You. And in fact, I'll give it +2/+2.
Oh,
just to end it right away, make it easy.
Sure. I also was holding up this postmortem lunge in case something went there. But all right, you got one. Look at that, you won one.
And there's a Spellskite in here, so this is a nice card to have.
Very cool. All right, Gavin, you know, if there's one thing I love to talk about with Wizards of the Coast, it's mistakes. And I want to hear from you.
I've made so many.
Well, that's what I want to know. From you personally. So this is the thing, is I never want anyone to be like ragging on someone else, anything like that, but you can rag on yourself. Your tenure at Wizards, if you could point to one of, if not your biggest mistakes that you feel you made, you could redo something. Let's just even say redo. You wish you had a redo. What is something that you wish you had the redo on, or something you consider your biggest mistake since starting at Wizards of the Coast?
One thing comes to my mind immediately. I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a video of mine you can watch called The 5 Cards I Regret Making.
You have a YouTube channel? Why, it's right here and linked in this video's description. Good Morning Magic with Gavin Verhey, and you can see all these cool insider videos by Gavin about the game, and also a lot of times you talk about things coming out in the game. Not a sponsor, it's just Gavin.
The one thing I really regret is my first ever lead, actually. We talked about it earlier, Commander 2017. I'm very happy with how it turned out overall.
Okay.
4-type focused decks, really cool types, everyone loved them. But I do think the Eminence mechanic was a bit of a mistake in how it was deployed, right? Especially the Edgar Markov being able to just like create a ton of vampires was problematic. But You know, those cards were all extremely strong. There's very little design space there. And I think that the ability of creating material on the board that costs you nothing to make happen, we just didn't rate it correctly, right?
So Edgar Markov is your fault.
Edgar Markov is my card,
Wow.
yeah. And that card, so is your dragon, so is the other one. The only one I didn't make was Anala, which I don't like that card very much. Arabo, the cat one, I think is cool.
Yeah.
Edgar and your dragon, a little iffy on their power levels.
Yes.
That's one that I would do over again if I could. You know, so other cards in that camp for me, Yuriko, I would probably do differently.
Yeah.
Najila the Blade Blossom, I would probably do differently.
Oh,
from
Najila.
Battlebond.
CEDH players kind of love that card.
I know, I've made a lot of cards that CH players love. So.
That's actually a bad sign. Is Wizards should just have polls on the CEDH Discord or whatever their main communication system is, where they're like, what are your favorite cards? And then it's like, who did that one? Who did that one? You got to change what you're doing.
I made Teferi's Protection too, so sometimes you push cool and you get up with good
I
stuff.
like Teferi's Protection.
I'll tell you a small one that probably no one ever thinks about, that I think about all the time.
Right.
Which is Partner With in Battlebond. Now, Partner With.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. It is really good. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Except for one problem.
What?
Here's what I wish I would have changed about Partner With. Partner With was made for Two-Headed Giant and also to be made compatible in Commander, right? So the idea was in Two-Headed Giant, you could draft them. You could put one in your deck, one in your buddy's deck. You played it, and then you got to search up the other copy. We had to get them together. Awesome, right?
Yeah.
Super cool. The other thing we baked into Partner With is that they can both be your commander. Also very cool. It's like a fixed version of Partner. You get them both together.
It's great.
What's the rub?
What's your problem?
Here's the problem.
Okay.
Because you can target yourself with Partner With, and you can find another copy in your own deck, we always have to think about that when we make new ones, because it's kind of like drawing a card, the equivalent of drawing a card, basically. You're getting a card out of your deck. We can't make really cheap ones, because in like an Eternal format, like Legacy, you could play 4 copies of each of them, and just play one, find the other, play that one, find the other, and have an infinite chain of these basically back and forth. And even in Commander, if they're really cheap, being able to play one and automatically find the other half yourself is often more power than we want to put into these cards. If I could tweak it, it's a very small tweak, one thing I've thought about a lot, I would make it so you could only target another player with the search ability. So in Battlebond, it works just fine. In Commander, you can have both of them in your command zone still, but you can't just use them to draw a card on the other side.
But it's good to be able in Commander to draw. Why not, may I ask, why not make the change that you just have a line of text that says you may only have one copy of this card in your deck?
We could do that for a lot of things, you know?
Yes.
But it adds text onto the cards, which I don't love.
I don't love that either.
Right, so now you understand there's that conundrum where you have to put that on everything. Also, it can be tough to verify sometimes.
What if we change the legend rule so that you can only have one copy of a legend in your deck?
Oh, interesting.
Did it used to be that way a million years ago? I know there was a lot of iterations of the legend rule, but I forget, like in Alpha, what the legend rule was, if there was one copy in your deck.
Well, in Alpha, Professor, there was no legend rule because there were no
legends. There were no legends until Legends, then with Legends when it came out. Well, very clever, very clever. All right, I picked this deck.
All right, I picked this one. Let's battle.
Here we go.
And you're up first.
We're doing Creature Commander here. In other words, I've got this lovely Shriek Raptor. It's a 2/3 flying infect. I've got this big, beefy, rotted Hystrix. It's a 3/6. And then, you know what? I've just got a little old immolating Soul Eater. It's a 1/1, except I can pump it
infinite times
by paying red, which I have infinite amount of. So let's see if you have removal.
Well, Professor, normally this would be a very good draw. I think this is an extremely good pack for you. I think it would be very hard for me to defend against.
You've got it. You've got it, don't you?
I do have bad news. I'm going to play this Shrine of Piercing Vision, which does nothing relevant.
Right, okay.
It's an irrelevant card.
Oh, you told me you put those in your good pack.
I'm going to play a Plains, which has no abilities that are useful here.
Okay.
But then, I'm going to cast the magic card, Artillerize.
Okay.
I can sacrifice an artifact or creature to deal 5 damage to a creature or player, and I'm choosing you.
Oh my God. In response, I am going to pump this 100,000 times to make it a 100,000, 100,000, and then I lose. All right.
Game 5 for all the marbles.
We're tied for all the marbles. So, for my last question, you've done a lot of interviews. You've been on a lot of my colleagues and friends' channels. You've been on a lot of people that I haven't even met that I just love and respect. What's a question you've never been asked that you wish you would be asked so it would give you the opportunity to say something that you haven't been able to say?
You know, Prof, ironically enough, I've been asked this question a number of times.
By me? No, for all I know, you're like, Prof, you asked me this in our last interview, which you can view here.
And I've been asked so many questions about Magic that there isn't one that pops in my head that I've really wanted to be asked that I haven't asked.
Okay, well, how about this? What's the one thing you wish that we got. Like, and don't do something like, I wish that the players just understood that we love Magic too. Like, but for real, what do you fail to communicate to us that just, so listen up everyone, and what is it that you keep failing to communicate to us?
I do have a good one for this.
All right.
The number one thing I think for me that's just really hard to internalize is like time and patience. And what I mean by that is we work so far ahead on Magic sets.
Yeah.
We work years and years and years in advance. For a good frame of reference, the next year of Magic is already done.
Oh, yeah.
It is finished. And really we're working further than that often out. You know,
Right.
I've worked on stuff all the way through the end of the 2020s, more or less at this point. There's a lot of things we know that we need to change, and we hear from the stuff from the community and we want to implement it, and it just is gonna take time because we can't do it any faster. And so, you know, all the time there would be people being like, please change this, or even 6 months later, I asked you 6 months ago, why hasn't this changed yet? 6 months is not enough time.
Sure.
It's gonna take us a lot longer.
Yeah.
And so one thing I always ask is, I'm listening, the whole team is listening, we really do care, and it just takes time on a lot of this stuff. And I'm not saying that everything you've ever asked for is gonna be answered, because of course that's impossible to answer everything that they would want to change in Magic.
Reprint dust to dust.
Reprint dust to dust. That's on my radar. It's very much on my radar. That's a good example of one that's like, I've been trying for so long. I'm sure I'll get into something eventually. Be patient. I think about Magic. So you ever talk to a geologist about the Earth?
Yes.
This is a very Gavin way to start things.
Sure.
They use a thing called the geological timeline, or it's a name like that, where basically they talk about the Earth in like, you know, talk about it in like increments of thousands upon thousands of years, which to us is bananas. None of us are gonna live 1,000 years.
Right.
But that's how you have to look at the timeline of how long you're living.
So the changes we want, you were gonna have to wait 1,000 years.
No, I
get it. We've been asking you to fix this. In 1,000 years, guys, it'll be ready.
Yes, but no, but I think about Magic in not a dissimilar way, where it's like there's stuff we want to do or things I want to get out there, and it will happen, but it just is going to take time, and I wanted to play the long game, right? There's stuff. My first week at Wizards, I've been at Wizards 14 years this year. In my first week at Wizards, we talked about doing a space set someday. What if we did a space set? We had planets for all the 5 colors, and it could be like kind of like the Blind Eternities were there hanging out. First week at Wizards, we talked about that. Put it in the file for later. 14 years later, we get Edge of Eternities, right? And so there's stuff we talked about in my first week we still haven't approached, and everything is always in the back pocket, waiting for the right time. You just have to find the right space. So all things in time.
So it's gonna be 14 years before the dust to dust reprint. Okay.
That's right. Dust to dust, baby.
I use the analogy not of the geologic time, but of the old adage of like a dinosaur. You step on a brontosaurus's tail, and it just takes so long for the signal to hit the brain. Not that you aren't realizing it, but that it's like we're waiting for this to actually move through to being in production versus how long and how far in advance you work. But do you think that there is maybe a fault to that as well, or a hindrance to having such a working far in the future timeline and not being able to be more agile or be more adept to be like, yeah, we'll have that done for you by January?
Actually, in my time at Wizards, we've been able to become more agile. Like, we're trying to find more efficiencies, trying to find ways to like be able to put things in later. We do a thing, for an example now, I don't know how many people even know if this exists. Very inside baseball. But so when we are making a Magic set, we have art waves. And the art really dictates what a Magic card can be in a way. Because, for example, if I say this card's going to have flying and you paint a flying picture, I can't take the flying off of it, right? That's not how it works. And so you're designing the cards as the art is being made in parallel a lot of the time. Your concrete begins to harden the further the process goes along. And at some point, you're locked into all of your concepts and you can't change them.
Right.
We added a new process toward the very, very, very end of a set's design called the contingency art wave, where we can commission a couple new pieces if there's like a card we need to slide in for standard, or something players are really asking for.
Yeah.
Something that we can just kind of get in there, not at the last minute, because we're ultimately bound by printing the cards, shipping the cards, etc., but much later in the game than we used to be able to. So there's a lot of tiny things like that we've built in to be able to create some contingencies. We are just bound by the laws of like printing the cards, getting them around the world, the laws of physics. We can't do it much faster.
Yeah.
You know? It is a hindrance, but also there's only so much we can do, you know, and we can't. I'm glad that we get to make this paper game. You know, it's funny. When I started at Wizards, I was like, man, I really wish we could patch our cards like they can do in a digital game.
Sure.
Right? It'd be so nice to be able to just send out patches all the time and fix our cards, and we could send stuff out and it'd be fine. After being at Wizards so many years with paper Magic, I'm like, I'm so glad we can't patch the cards, because I feel like people would be asking for it all the time. It'd be this constant check we have to do of, you know, tweaking cards up and down. Players' decks would change very rapidly. I personally really enjoy almost the human of it all, of like, we made these cards, we did the best job we could.
There it is.
They're not gonna be perfect. I'm sure you'll try some and you'll find that they are too powerful or too weak. Things will be off by a little bit, and that's the nature of it. We are just humans making this game, and we're gonna do the best job we can with all the knowledge we have, but it's a little imperfect sometimes. And I know that can be frustrating. And obviously, if I could snap my fingers and make it perfect, I probably would. But I do think it's kind of beautiful in a way to see that human element come through in how the cards are made, right? And how I can be like, man, I wish I had a card, make that card cost one more. I wish I hadn't done eminence this way or whatever. And that's just, it's a permanent thing you have in your hands forever that will never change. And it's a testament to the history of the game.
So in some ways, it is not the final result so much as that journey towards that result, and knowing that when you are done and when you do ship the project, it is writ in stone there, with a few errata exceptions. And so it is that, I imagine, an extreme pressure of get it right, get it, if not perfect, as close to perfect. But then it's like a little work of art, and Magic cards are like little pieces of art that are there for all time to tell their story.
Absolutely.
Last pack?
Last pack, and you're up first, Prop.
I'm up first, right? Okay, so this is for, oh no! This is my super not so crazy. Oh my God. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, we're gonna play a Trespassing Soul Eater. It's a 2/2, and I can make it unblockable. And pass the turn.
All right, I'm gonna play my own Suture Priest.
Yes.
And then I'll play a Pestilent Soul Eater, and I will gain 1 life.
Sure.
I go up to 6.
You're at 6, okay, and that's a 3/3.
It's a 3/3. It is your turn.
3/3. I think you got this one. So I make this unblockable and attack you for 2.
I go to 3.
I play my land for the turn.
Okay.
And I pass the turn.
All right.
You
I
come at
attack
me for 4. I go to 1. Comes back to me. I can only bring you to 1. If there was some way that after bringing you to 1, I could kill this, which I can't, I would be able to do you a damage for 1 card in the graveyard. But you won this, Gavin.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Victory.
Speaking of a little collection of art, here was the last set that you experienced as a player and not WotC's staff. Please enjoy.
Thank you.
They are part of the prize pool here.
And when I think of sets that maybe turned out a little different than was anticipated, New Phyrexia might be on that list.
I like
But I think it's beautiful. Look, we're sitting here, 15 years after this set came out, and we're still opening the cards and experiencing them in exactly the same way they were designed. Nothing's been patched, nothing's been changed. These cards are imperfect. We look at them and we tell stories of like, wow, mutagenic growth, probably a little bit too strong, you know?
They patched Hostage Taker, and that was one of yours too, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't? Oh, that would have been so funny. That would have been funny if that was yours, but they didn't patch it. Okay.
But you know, we sit here and flip the cards exactly as they were made by the people that made them. I think that's really cool. It's like a bit of history and a bit of love in every pack.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One more spin?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
What's up? It's Shuffle Up and Play, and today the theme of our Commander episode is themes.
Let's talk about my theme. All of my cards are orbs of some fashion. The entire deck has to have spheres in it.
I did not tell anyone else at the table to build a theme. I just kind of said, bring whatever you want to bring. You're the only person with a theme.
You know, if you attack Prof, you get to draw a card.
You know, if you attack Prof, you'll regret it.
You know what? I'm a filthy blue mage.
So a blue mage.
Yes, Avon Interrupter, who is carrying his orb.
That's incredible. Stop stealing my things.
I am finally of an age where I think I need glasses.
Did you just say that to a table of 3 people with glasses?
I've been of that age since 6.